Order.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, very good. Okay. Maya, we can see your name, but. Let's see, here you go.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm Joshua Harris, president.
Meg Quinn, present. Lori Beal, present, please. Elizabeth Ricketson, present. And Maya. present.
I am present.
Okay. All right, so. Everybody's seen the agenda. Do we have any? Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting.
Okay. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, and then the motion to approve the minutes from August 4th. I read through, everything looked good.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting from August 4th.
Okay, I'll second. 40 seconds. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
All right, motion approved. Okay. All right, so, move on to our new business. So the first item on our agenda is to vote on the governance draft document. So I sent everyone on the 14th. A copy of the document. That version had the accepted changes from legal, which we had voted on and approved at our last meeting. And then my changes were in blue. Unfortunately, you cannot see them in the printout, but that's okay if you read them ahead of time. But we can go through and look at them. You can see them because they're kind of underlined and whatnot. So I'll just quickly go down through there. In the section 1, we had on that very first thing in order of priority. I took that off because we talked about it's really going to matter more like what we do as far as the lottery ones going forward, and that we also had a discussion last time about the fact that the workforce housing is not just meant for village employees, it's meant to support and, for the village as a whole. So that's why I took that out.
Like it.
Okay. All right, and then in the second, past where it says additional workforce requirements include, I just made a spelling correction there based on the recommendation from the application that I was using to put in the dash of. But, and then on page 2, in section C, I did same thing, a little bit more of just, whatever grammar corrections that the app was explaining to do. And then in paragraph F, I added at the time of application that they need to provide that at the time of application, proof of employment. And then in paragraph G, I just did the consistency of representative or property, the village's designated representative or property manager, which could be, could be like a company that we owned or whatever, instead of having it all spelled out like that. Okay. And then paragraph J is where before we had wanted proof of eligibility every 3 months, and then I changed it to biannually because that's what we agreed to or talked about at the last meeting. And that the village will send a reminder to occupants at least 10 days prior to the deadline. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. And then the next, under, on page 3 at the bottom, section 3, there's a little bit of wording changes there that says that, the Village of Angel Fire will establish a standard lease agreement, which will include but not be limited to the following, and then, I think the only, and then if you go to the next page, under 4, I added that the rental processes have to be in alignment with the Uniform Owner Residential Relations Act. And then, I added E, which was the right that the application should also include the right of the entry for the village of the village's designated representative or property manager to conduct inspections and periodic maintenance on the unit. And then, we want the application to include co-signer guarantee requirements. And then, which, whatever that is. And then,
You took off the last one.
yeah. Oh, yeah, and then the very last is the recommendation goes to a new document, and that's it. And so on the cosigner requirements, I only put that there. We did talk about, well, does the cosigner's income have an impact on the income requirements from something? I think Rocky was gonna follow up with that, but in general, I would say it, yeah, because the cosigner's not actually gonna be living there. They're only guaranteed that they'll pay the rent if somebody else doesn't pay it.
Right,
This
You
is
know.
this is a liability clause, not an occupancy clause.
Right,
so we
exactly.
definitely want to nail that down with.
Right. Right, yeah, so we need to get that down. So those are the changes. So is there anything else that we think, that we discussed that we did, that I did not cover? Do you guys recall?
Just on this last part, number 1, you should agree on, and it should be 1.
Where's that at?
B, on this part here. The one we have, I guess we haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we haven't gotten to that one. So, okay, so as far as the governance, is everybody okay with those changes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we should vote on that. Maybe we do a roll call.
Well, we
Vote on that.
really have to add our selection, whether we choose lottery or first come, first serve. Are we gonna have to add that to governance? Or is that kind of more administrative detail?
I guess it depends on where you think that information is going to live
Right.
long-term. Is it in the application? Because it looks like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we're gonna have a governance document and we're gonna have an application document.
Yes.
Where should that information live, I guess?
Yeah,
At best.
Well, I think it should be I mean, obviously it should be in the application document, but I think it's more of my view is, I think it's more of an administrative detail that, you know, whoever's running the property management, you know, has the freedom to move to a different system. We don't, you know, we'll pick what we want to go with to start, but
So,
And legal may want it to be part of the governor's document. So I think when whatever recommendation we make to council's gonna want legal to look at it anyway.
yeah.
for sure, and I guess,
Yeah.
are you guys gonna vote to send this to council, or are you voting to send it to legal? Or is there a difference?
I know, that's a good question.
Send recommendation to council.
Approve the governance.
Well,
Draft.
what did we do last time?
I think it's gonna go to, it's gonna go to legal first.
Right.
Okay,
My impression, because the only other thing I might comment should be in here, and this would really a Rocky question. Obviously, we know we have income caps on these properties. We should probably display that information, or at least reference what
Okay.
it's, you know,
Maybe-
tied to.
Something like the Village Van Fires abiding by the,
the HUD and.
The terms of the grant
Yeah.
specify
Okay,
HUD income limits that,
limits, yeah.
yeah, so,
Okay.
but I think, you know, somewhere in here that needs to be stated that the income limits exist. And that information probably could go on both the governance and the application, because it's really
oh,
the way I'm looking at this is the governance document is for whoever is in charge of this process at the village level. It's how they shall behave, right?
Right,
That's what it's for. Whereas the application is really more for your prospective tenants to inform them of the rules and what the process looks like,
Right,
so.
right.
And that governance, though, that's gonna be longer term and harder to change, correct?
So it depends on how you do this, and we could ask manager where you can do, so take you guys out of it. Within the village, there exists ordinance prescribes by law what someone must do, but we also have policy.
Okay.
Policy, like, you know, how we use our fueling station over behind the transfer station. There are policies in place of who can use that, who's allowed, what the process is supposed to be to properly use the fueling station over there. So I look at this as being done via policy, not done via ordinance. The difference is if you're making something an ordinance, you have to publish notice, you know, 30 days in advance in the Taos News and open comment periods, whereas if this is just policy, it doesn't require all that. Now, policy is much easier to change. However, one thing you guys could consider is, if you remember back, this committee put forth a charter document that was then given to the village and the comp plan committee. They wanted to make sure they had charters for all of the different committees and what actions they were doing. So this document also really, if you wanted to add language in here, should be modified by either the committee or council. Policy could be changed by the village manager. Okay, without input, potentially. So if you want to put some language in here that, you know, makes this a little more binding, that would be, hey, this document shall only be updated, you know, by the Workforce Housing Committee or with the express permission of council. That would be a way to make it not quite ordinance ironclad, but maybe a little more.
That's
so
kind of what we were
policy.
talking about in the trails, was policy of
Yep.
ordinance, like which one you want set in stone, because one's much harder to change.
Correct, exactly.
So on to the first point about the income requirements under section 1, under eligibility requirements, I can add, I'll write it in right now. We can say, meets the, HUD approved.
You might say Housing New Mexico, because HUD had some saying, but Housing New Mexico is ultimately who came up with the chart. Where it was, what,
That's
2 times Colfax County,
Yeah.
so.
And do we have to like put
Or
in
you could
the
just-
dollar amount, or can it just be
It's at the grant.
Housing New Mexico's income cap?
I wouldn't put them in there because they are pegged to inflation, so they're gonna change.
Right, so
every
it's
year.
just,
Right, so we
The
reference
Housing
the
New Mexico.
standard that
You could just
we're
say the
looking at.
Correct.
The grant.
the current,
You might say the established income limits prescribed by Housing New Mexico.
I'm gonna say meets the established housing, the income limits established by, meets the income limits established by Housing New Mexico as required for the grant, but the grant is a one-time thing, it's not
I
a,
would put that.
yeah, because we're gonna get multiple grants and the next grant may not.
Well, we are, but keep in mind that this particular grant, it encumbers that property for, I think it's 30 years.
yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think you need that last bit, you probably just take off of there.
The part about the grant,
Yeah, the part about the grant.
okay, so I'm saying meets the income limits established by Housing New Mexico.
Right, because roll the clock forward. It may be that 5 years from now, Housing New Mexico comes back to us and maybe they want to lower those limits, or maybe we push to bring them up 5 years from now. And that's gonna be an ongoing negotiation between the village and Housing New Mexico to sort out.
All right, I think I'm gonna say for the Village of Angel Fire Workforce Housing, because there are established New Mexico income limits everywhere else, but we have our specific ones.
Right, these are county specific, and in this case, this was a carve out that was given us, so I may be wrong. I wanna say it's double what the Colfax County AMI is, because the data that we have is just Colfax County. And if you know, Angel Fire AMI is about double what the county is, so we needed that workaround to make this function.
Okay, so we add that, and then what was the second part that you wanted me to add something around at the end, this document? Or I could put it in the.
It's a question of, again, policy versus ordinance. And I don't see this being, I don't think we're gonna make this an ordinance. I think this is gonna be a policy. But we want some language in there that modification of this governance, you know, shall be the responsibility of the Workforce Housing Committee or council. You could say it that way.
But I'm reading here, this says, this is the very top of the document, consistent with the village's affordable housing ordinance, Title 11. Oh, that's the one that we adopted. That was basically written by New Mexico. Okay,
Yeah, that is the ordinance that we have and Colfax County has that has to match New Mexico's ordinance.
okay, so tell me again. I'm just trying to figure out where to put it in the document, so we don't have to yet again come back and do this in
Sure.
3 weeks.
Sure.
So,
I think at the end of that paragraph, that initial paragraph is
okay,
probably a good place.
Changes to this governance require approval of either the Workforce Housing Committee and or Village Council.
okay, change to this governance. Requires. Approval. Housing committee. Or.
That's just a future proofing line is really all.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna put it as a second, I'm gonna create a space and then I'll
Yeah.
put that as
Okay,
a
second
one little line.
Okay, yeah, the full one.
Okay. All right. Okay. So with those two changes, anything else?
No.
Maya, anything else from you? Okay. All right, do we have a motion? And I think we talked about this needs, we have moved it to go to legal.
And I
Send
did-
it to legal?
You could make the motion either way, that basically we are done, that this committee is done with this draft. We're ready for it to go to the next step.
Yeah.
If the manager looks at it and says, I don't think it needs to go to legal, or legal wants to do a 5-minute review on it, because you guys haven't changed that much and you incorporated most of their changes,
Right,
that's fine. If legal looks at it and it's ready to go to council, I just don't want it to come back here again, so you vote on it
okay,
a second time. So I would just make the motion to approve this to go forward in the process, either to legal or to council, whichever is appropriate.
all right, so do we have a motion to approve this current draft with the changes we've just discussed? Uh-huh.
I mean, that
To,
oh, go ahead.
to legal and to legal
Legal
and
and or council.
and or council.
Yeah, I mean that we approve the governance document added.
You said you make a motion to, for a motion, anybody have a second?
Second the motion.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good, all right. Yay.
One down.
Down, okay. The next one is the recommendations to council, which was the separated document.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one, is a little bit, maybe before, well. We have in here, I have the comments about Lori's gonna provide the scope of work for the RFP and Meg's gonna provide the lottery input on the bottom, since we talk about those first before we talk about this.
Okay, is this the page you're going through?
This is the page I'm going through now.
Okay.
But it does say that there's some TBDs on here, so, so we might wanna, let's table the property management scope of, let's table the recommendations, and we'll do that last, and then let's go to the property management scope of work, which is property management scope of work, so. Okay, so Lori, do you wanna kind of talk us through this? I read through it. I thought it was a good summary. I mean, obviously, we're not RFP writers.
Right.
But I would be interested in hearing. So go ahead, Lori.
I just did a search on the internet.
Well,
I looked at several different things.
okay,
This is like more for a property management that could be local or somewhere in New Mexico.
or even somebody that works for the village.
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
but I have a second one that was gonna have like a person living there, but I thought we'd wait until we figured
okay,
that out.
okay.
I thought this was good overall,
Mm-hmm.
you know, from a property management perspective. I think we're hitting.
I think we're hitting the major points. The financial management, I wondered if we felt like that was, if we hire a full-time person, you know, then,
That's the
Then
main
they-
thing
yeah.
property managed to is the
Yeah.
paperwork and the finance.
yeah. Well, Maya, you have experience with this. Any thoughts from you?
Did you get my email?
Yeah, and I read it. Yeah, I read through it briefly, but it looks, yeah, it looks like a great start to me. It's pretty good
Yeah.
overview of
And
all the
I mean,
different
you
things.
guys, you have a person, I mean, the resort has a person who does this. Is there anything that they do that was maybe not, if you can kind of think about that?
Maintenance, repairs, communications. Operations. Collecting. No, I don't. I don't think so. This pretty much encompasses it all.
Okay, you were gonna say something? No? Jake, what do you think?
I think it looks good. Realistically, I think whatever document you guys vote to approve here, this is just a gut feeling, I don't know, but from the feedback that you guys got from the property managers here in town, I suspect the most likely course is that we're gonna recommend that the village manager go find that full-time person. So you said you had a separate document that was different than this for that. I see no reason why you couldn't submit both.
No, I think the one, the separate document is for the person that living on site,
Yeah.
that would, okay, oh, maybe it is.
If the person on site would be doing so much the financial and bookkeeping.
Well, and that's gonna have to be a decision as you get down to the nitty gritty, are we, are rents gonna be paid? What's the computer system gonna be used? What software? How is that gonna go into accounting for the village? All these compliance questions. So some of that, they might be entering rents and stuff and maybe working with Rocky or somebody to set a budget annually and then some of it's gonna happen here with other personnel, so.
Right.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of exactly what you just said is gonna happen on the fly.
Yeah, right. We're
Because,
gonna have to figure it out.
we have an accounting department, we have people working in it, we have software, but none of it was really built for being a landlord, which is kind of what we're doing, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have both and can submit, I think what's most likely gonna happen with this work product here is it ends up on a job description for a job posting to hire that person.
Yeah.
So whether it's this document or that or both, if you wanna look at both and review, or if you wanna submit them both, I think that's fine, but that is my guess of what's going to happen in the short term. Now, I do think there's potential 5 years down the road that there's enough workforce housing units here that maybe they do keep that full-time person living on site, or maybe one of the businesses in town said, hey, let me come make you a deal on doing the property management for you. None of us will know. But because of the truncated timeline we're on and these 6 units that are getting ready to get rolling, we've got to figure that out pretty quickly. It may be that in the interim, it becomes part of some existing employees, part of their job description while they wait to find that full-time person. Don't really know.
I guess in my mind, when we were thinking about it before, and maybe I wasn't really putting it all together, was the person who's gonna do like the rent collection and the management, all these financial, and that kind of thing, was different than maybe the person that was gonna be on site and who would be like the point of contact for repairs or do minor repairs. But since and maybe they do the snow removal, but we already talked about the village is probably gonna take care of that. And so. I mean, if you have a separate document, let's see
That's
it.
exactly what I thought too. And so when I was researching everything we thought about the person living there, maintaining the property and being the go-to person.
Maintain the grounds.
Yeah, and checking on the property. It's more of a description of an assistant property manager.
Okay,
But if you're a small, property, then a lot of times you will have just one person on the spot who's just like
Yeah.
the
I guess I
property
had the
manager.
distinct impression that
Yeah,
he wouldn't be handling the financial part of it.
yeah, I mean, it really,
could be.
it really
I
depends.
know, I think we have to figure that out.
Yeah.
The other thing is that you have to consider that who's on call 24 hours.
Right. Who's gonna be going if, they get a leak,
Right.
at
Midnight.
2 a.m. on February 2nd, we've just had a huge snowfall or something. That's, yeah.
Right.
Or main pipe routes.
Yeah.
gas leak.
Right.
Okay, so do you have that other, can you tell us what's in the other document?
It was more of a, yeah, but why don't I just try to make a copy of it?
Okay, that's fine. But as far as this, I think this is good, because, I mean, I feel like this we can hand to whoever writes the RFP, is that Julia?
Julie Coolhan.
Yeah, her and Brett can work on together exactly how they could take this and turn it into, if it's gonna be an RFP and or job description.
Right.
I mean, and then, yeah, let's see what the other. The other one was.
I guess, and maybe it, lack of imagination on my part, but I was having trouble picturing a person that would live on site, you know, be the main point of contact, and it's also, oh, my microwave door fell off, can you come fix it?
Right.
I don't know that those are the same person in my head
Right.
for whatever reason.
Right,
Um,
I'm the same.
you know, I also, I don't think we've really talked about this, I know Kurt's back there. Do you have the maintenance department? Is that under you or is that someone else? Have we had any discussions yet about this very thing? Are we gonna be able to, I mean, for large repairs, you have a furnace outage, right? So you gotta call a professional, they come in, we interface with sustainability partners, but somebody pulled the drawer out of the kitchen, and they don't know how to get it back in.
Oh,
Is that something that you feel like at any point the maintenance department, your guys would get in on, or are we trying to keep them out of the loop based on their current workload?
Right, and that's the thing.
Not necessarily, there's been some discussion, but there was suggestion and talk, but no
Right.
further discussion.
Okay. So it's because if you have a problem, I mean, we have warranty on these units. We have sustainability partners that's
Right.
holding some capital back
Yes.
to pay for these things. So somewhere in here, sustainability partners has got responsibility on items.
Right.
The Village of Angel Fire has responsibility, but it's closing that gap in the middle.
And, yeah.
And then figuring out where those, you know, who decides, oh, somebody broke this drawer. Okay, are we gonna go to sustainability partners for that? Can we go to our maintenance department for that? Is that appropriate? Do they have the time? Have we set those processes up to be seamless or not? But it kind of ties in, because I see a little bit of a gap between this job description
Yes,
and where sustainability partners is gonna pick up.
yeah, because the property manager is not gonna be the person doing the repairs. They need
No.
to be the person doing the financials,
right,
being the point of contact and the eyes and feet on the ground.
right.
Whereas, and then all that type of work's gonna be subbed out, already accounted for, and then the property manager is going to
The-
relay the information to
Right.
who needs it.
They're gonna turn into a project manager,
Right.
not an actual,
Right.
you know,
Handyman,
handyman.
yeah.
Right, yeah, no, you run work orders.
Yeah.
But you have to have it set up, like, is it gonna go to Kurt? Is it something they
Correct.
call in? Sustainability partners, what do we do?
Great.
Do we go to a third party?
Main discussion that we had centered around if we should have the need for on-call professional services. For like HVAC, electrical, plumbing. But then the mediocre stuff, if maintenance can take care of. That also rolled into discussion about maintenance of the grounds outside of the buildings, which includes snow removal. If it's gonna be a own your zone scenario where there, or is maintenance gonna be cleaning off sidewalks all the way to the front door?
Got it.
So defining those and.
What's your preference? I mean, if we're writing that now, I know the roads you're fine with, or at least getting the roads plowed out. But how would you like to see that set up? You know, cause the problem is gonna be, we want the sidewalks cleared. But the same guy who's gonna be back there clearing the sidewalks is probably also clearing another road to get 10 more people plowed out, that generally you do roads before sidewalks.
Well, maintenance department does sidewalks.
Okay.
So it's a question of, prioritizing, workforce housing, village sidewalks, fire stations,
Yeah.
police station. How those are gonna be prioritized, and that's up to management.
Yeah,
And that could, yeah, cause if they don't get. If sidewalks don't get plowed and then they're ice, and they just start walking
Right.
around the ice and making more
Well,
ice,
yeah.
where we don't want them to walk and tearing up the grounds.
Well, I think in looking at these two documents, I think a lot of what's on the assistant property manager responsibility is kind of covered over here. There's a
Right,
few
right.
extra ones. Like coordinate with vendors for trash removal, maintenance, landscaping, security and all that. Investigate and help resolve complaints, disturbances. Maybe we put, property management scope of work and then, then, and these are our recommendations of the things that need to be covered by property management. And however the village wants to split those into one or two positions is up to them.
Yeah,
So I don't think it's bad for us to submit both documents and just say, here is what we think the scope of work and or some other responsibilities should include. And then Manager Weir and, whoever else helps with that kind of thing can say, okay, this helps us to get started on the process of finding a role or putting together an RFP.
okay,
Cause
Yeah.
again, we're making recommendations, but we don't want it to be limited
sure.
to exactly what we say because we are not experts in this stuff.
And Manager Weir and Director Epler, they have a lot more knowledge of, oh, I've got, Joe or Steve or,
Right,
or
and just
Andy in
need-
accounting
yeah.
or whoever, who this could fit to their jobs, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still a good discussion to have. I agree with you. You don't need to have this thing perfectly lined out, but something you said just brought up another one. You said trash.
Mm-hmm.
Have we even talked about, did we put a dumpster back there or not?
I-
There's demo applications in the site plan.
Is there?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And,
I
and
did put
you're good with that?
trash and
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm fine with submitting both of these documents
Yeah,
and saying, and then so if we go back to the recommendations, we'll just say, attached is the property management scope of work and or responsibilities.
Yes.
Recommended to be put into an RFP and or job position. So I can change that wording right there. I'll do that.
yeah. I
Where it
think
says
that's great.
Lori too, I'm gonna say that. Okay, did everybody get that?
Yeah.
All right. So, is any other discussion on these two documents before we?
yeah,
No,
I'll just give you that. That's probably more.
okay,
I would take assistant off.
okay, so take the word assistant off. Okay, all right, and here too. Okay.
Before you make that motion,
Mhm.
Director Epler, should we go ahead and put on the bottom of one of these, since it's the property manager's description, we could add in language that says to be the point of contact for on-call professional services. So in other words, if we need HVAC services, that we would empower the property manager to go to, it sounds like we need to go ahead and RFP for an electrician, a plumber, and an HVAC person to be on call for those units.
Yeah, it's logical. I just need to confirm with Brett that it'd be legal for somebody not an employee of the village ordering services.
Okay. My guess, and I could be wrong, I think this person's gonna end up being an employee, not a contractor.
Oh,
Yes,
The property manager.
Property,
yes.
yes.
I think that's more likely at this point.
Yeah.
Cause we had at least 2 or 3 of the property management people come in. And that was their recommendation, we don't wanna bid on this work, you guys should hire someone.
okay. I just, when you were talking about property manager scope of work, I heard
Yeah.
RFP.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's, we're basically giving it both ways, if we can find someone RFP, but we had, Mike Steely and Owen Curry, and was there one other? They came in and talked to the committee, but they're like, we're not interested in this bid, basically.
The money's not there.
If there was for 30 units, probably not, for maybe 100 units, there
Yeah.
eventually will be, but.
100 plus, and okay, that might be interesting there.
So I think,
If the village is going to have an employee be the property manager, I would recommend that, the person they hire, so one of the skills needed is basic maintenance and repair.
okay.
well. And also the financial aspects of it too, like being able to show the budgets and the revenue, do that. The reporting.
Right, and then that's like, cause with 30 units, is that a part-time job for
Right.
one of our guys that we already have on the maintenance department?
Right, and see, this kind of gets back to what I was saying earlier is, you can end up with an on-site manager with a property this small, with somebody who's doing the financials and needs to be up on your another real estate stuff. And they're going and screwing on, cabinet knobs and
Change
doing
light
little,
bulbs.
things
Yeah.
that don't require expertise. But they're on the spot, they can get it done,
Right.
within a day.
And Lori's got it sectioned out. And so
Yeah.
again, I'm back to, we can give this as the things that need to be handled
Right.
by one or more persons who are, related to this housing, and it's split out. And so I don't know, I mean, we can wait on, and before submitting this one more time and just clean it up to where it's one document, or we can submit both. I mean, you kind of still have X's and things like that, so.
Well, this is,
It's a recommendation.
it's a exactly, it's a recommendation. And unfortunately, none of us know how successful Manager Weir is gonna be in either the RFP or the hiring process. And I would just as soon start that process
Okay.
sooner rather than later. But that was gonna be my recommendation, is add to the job description somewhere, being the point of contact for professional services needed,
Okay.
i.e. plumbers, electricians,
I'm gonna put that
HVAC.
under this professional maintenance and repairs, and I thought you already had it in here
And
about the point of, for hiring vendors.
yes,
That was here,
well, I wouldn't suggest that they would hire the vendors. They're just gonna be the main point of contact. So if somebody's furnace is broken, the
okay,
property manager gets that call, that person needs to be empowered to go to the vendor of record, put in a work order and get that furnace fixed without having to call Kurt, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's right here under maintenance.
What I also think should happen is on this
okay,
record,
arrange for necessary,
Yeah, it's
okay,
under maintenance coordination.
okay, sorry,
on this page that we haven't got to yet,
yeah,
we should add RFPs for those professional services. Because
Okay.
those are on-call services.
okay, all right, arrange for necessary repairs, and then, so here on property management and repair, property maintenance and repair,
Yep.
it says, maintenance coordination, they arrange for necessary repairs and repairs, renovations and preventive maintenance, including on-call services, can I just say that?
On-call professional services. I would
Including
say.
on-call professional services.
Yes,
Okay,
That'll be your license thing.
so I'm gonna add that.
right.
All the real tradies who go to school.
Everybody with a state license.
Well, no, you even have to have that as the,
Okay,
you still have to be licensed even. Those.
Okay.
Certification.
all right, so, okay, question I have is, can we submit these things with our handwriting on them, or do they need to be not handwriting?
I mean, you can
Okay.
vote to submit it and then clean up the
Clean it up.
typos and
Okay.
include in an email
Copy that you wrote.
Okay,
the proofread one, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
okay, that's fine, okay. And see, on this one, with the assistant property manager, the only difference between what she gave us earlier is there's form regular on-site inspections of the units and property versus portfolio. Is that different than this one?
I think we should get it down to one.
Yeah, I think, just
Okay,
take anything that's on the assistant property manager that's not covered over here and add it because they're.
yeah, I'm good with that.
More.
So compile these
Yeah.
two into one document.
Yeah,
and submit it.
where there's conflict, I tend to go with the assistant PM job just because
Yeah,
it's smaller property.
So give me those.
okay, take all that. Okay, all right,
And
so,
then you need it by when? Okay,
Well, as soon as that gets in the manager's hand, we're going to send it out for RFP and develop a hiring process around it because,
Does it need to go to council in 2 weeks?
no,
council meeting.
Well, there's one tomorrow night, but.
there is one tomorrow night. Creating a position would have to go to council, so if The RFP would go to council.
Right.
Because I'm guessing the salary for this job would be above the manager's. He has a certain threshold of spending that has to go to council, and I think this will be over it, so. It will need to go to council, but it won't make tomorrow's meeting, so, yeah.
So if we're voting to submit this document to who?
So I would vote to submit this document to the manager,
Okay,
because ultimately it's gonna be his responsibility to figure out. Do I feel like the RFP is gonna have a chance of success? And I've shared the comments from the two property managers who's attended. We should go ahead and do the RFP, because maybe one of the other 6 in town wants it.
right,
But
okay,
if that RFP falls flat, he's gonna have to kind of at the same time be developing and trying to find someone to fill that position.
Okay.
Soon, right? Like, we need that person sooner rather than later, so I would target the meeting that will be in 2 weeks. So if you can have those documents,
I can get it to him tomorrow morning. if-
okay, and I would say by the end of the week would be fine.
I can get it to him tomorrow morning if he wants to try to use it tomorrow night.
It won't make the agenda's already been set, so.
okay. All right, so,
Make a
Yes.
motion.
yes, make a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend our final draft of the property management scope to council.
Okay, to Manager Weir,
Manager.
okay. Second,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
I,
Okay. All right, and I would like to set some deadlines, because I think we get whatever we're making. What the drafts that we've talked about, finalize and get those out, say like by Friday morning. If that's, or Thursday morning, so that we can collectively, I'll just send it, or, we get that
I'll
to,
do it tomorrow morning.
okay. Just send it to me, and then I'll collectively say, here are the documents to Ileana and
Mhm.
copy you and Brett. Is
Yep,
that fine? Okay.
that's fine.
All right. Okay. All right, so now lottery process, and we have 15 minutes.
I'm sorry, were we doing this paper too, or this?
Well, the lottery process is also on the bottom here, so I want to make sure that we,
Got it.
and I've got an
yeah,
extra copy if you want to.
okay,
I saw,
That you-
Meg's email with them.
okay. So last time we discussed two options. One was a randomized kind of thing. And we had some concerns about that with somebody putting their application in 3 months ago and still waiting. And then a person who put theirs in 5 hours before the deadline gets it. And then we also talked about first come, first serve, which may require a little bit more management of a list.
Right.
But anyway, so go ahead.
Maybe I can make this real short. It sounds like there's more support from the mayor to do this as a first come, first serve.
Mhm.
I just was talking to Manager Weir about this. Again, we're not trying to design a process that just works for these first 6 units and then
Right.
30. The plan will be that over the next several years, we hope to have 130 or whatever we can manage of these workforce housing units. So rather than trying to design a plan that only works for the 6 today or the 30 that we're gonna have, in the spring, that we just put forth the plan that's gonna work long-term. One thing that I threw out as an exemption from the first come, first serve is if we had a critical need, that we have it come back to this committee. Let's say that, I don't know how many of you have met our new doctor, Dr. Rossi. Very nice, very well liked. He's bought a home, so he doesn't need housing. But if he, had to move next year for some unforeseen situation, we're like, oh my gosh, we need to get a doctor here. We need some housing available for him for 6 months, that we basically create a variance process, if you will, that would require committee approval. The other example I gave is if, we have our school just up the hill here. If in 18 months they've lost 2 teachers and they're basically not able to replace them, well, the functioning of that school is interlaced with so many businesses and the village and people that this is essentially an emergency button, is what we're talking about pressing. Not one we'd want you guys to press all the time,
Right.
but something, the first come, first serve being the primary way we're gonna fill these, but let's create a what if path outside of that. So
We
Like-
have that special, we have that covered in, we have, they have the village council has discretion to approve the housing for special needs, which would be those kind of things or
Correct.
emergency. So you're just saying we need to repeat that in this, we need to repeat something like the village council can approve exceptions to the first come, first serve process.
And or do you have the committee do it?
Okay. Well, let's talk through the first come, first serve, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I felt like, and I apologize, I felt like maybe I was the one pushing the lottery last time harder. If you guys are more comfortable with first come, first serve, as long as there's that emergency process, I think that was what the manager was explaining to me is there's more support for that at council because it's a better long-term answer versus the lottery, but
I mean, I think if the village. It'd be a wonderful day if we ever got to the point where, you know, we're working with developers and having, you know, housing, you know, leased for purchase or outright purchase available. Then lotteries, you know, gonna be what you wanna go with for that, it seems like, but.
for
For
this,
rental housing,
Yeah.
that's what we're looking at in these initial phases. Yeah,
So this, how much, is this much different than what we talked about before?
it's pretty much, I'm just trying to outline without getting too much into specific steps of, okay, create the application and, run background checks and things, just trying to have the steps that are gonna be required for each process.
I think the waiting list is a problem.
Why?
Are you gonna tell people where they are on the waiting list? I mean, what if we get 100 applicants for the first 6 units?
Well, I mean, I think we need to tell them.
Well.
Or is there first come, first serve only first serve, like if that's only good for these units, you have, and then when more units come in, then you have to reapply. So that if you no longer need that unit, then you're not on the list.
I guess I disagree. I think
Yeah.
there's too many advantages to maintaining that list that I can think of.
Mhm.
One, the ease of filling units, if you have a randomly unexpected unit, but also that list is gonna be very helpful for us to do more grant writing with.
Sure.
If we have a waiting list of 200 people that are all seeking
Then you can
housing.
go to the state and say,
I feel like they should be told where they are on the list though, so they don't think they're getting
I don't know
bumped.
why that.
I don't know why
have a
you
problem
could.
with that.
Yeah, I don't think they would-
Issue.
No, I'm just saying,
Well-
'cause they could start accusing us of favoritism.
I mean, you could literally.
So then your applicant number 36, your applicant number 37 on the
Right.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not, it wouldn't be onerous, I mean, it would be another task, but it wouldn't be onerous for whoever does property management to keep this list.
Hmm.
And you could even, if we have like a page on the village's website for, which we'll want for workforce housing, here's the
Right.
application, here's how to apply, here's our, income limits.
Here's what the units look
But
like.
we have, either a link or posted on there,
It-
here's our current waiting list, you can
It-
check your position.
It's information collected by the village, so it would be subject to disclosure, so it should be public information. With the exception of any information that the applicant puts on there that's personal information.
Right.
That would have to be screened out, but yeah,
I
I
just
don't,
have the number and
Right.
the applicant name.
right,
Well, but I wouldn't put other applicants, like if I was logging on, I don't need to see who's above me. That's probably
Yeah.
confidential.
Yeah.
Just like you are, everything else is kind of blacked out, but it tells you where you are or something like that.
And that could also just be a running list, like, cause then you could always apply to that list.
Right.
And you just get put at the bottom and
Right.
then,
Yeah, because then
Your way.
then we have units open, you called.
you start at the top.
yeah,
fill those,
And if
and
people
they-
say, I no longer need one, to say,
Right.
okay, I'm taking you off the list.
right, or I don't qualify or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Right.
That sounds like easy and
Yeah.
the way to go there.
Yeah, because what it does is it keeps a constant pool going
Yep.
for, and then as people make applications, like I got a job that I'm gonna, live with a friend over in Taos, but I'm working in Angel Fire.
Yeah.
I'll put in an application even though there's nothing available.
Well, and having that list, a living and breathing list, will keep the pressure on council going forward to say, hey, you need to do another phase of this. This list is getting longer, not shorter, right?
Sounds good.
I just feel like they
Yeah.
have to be able to know where they are on the list.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
And I think that would be a responsibility of the property manager. If people want to know, they can email and.
Because the property manager has to know, if they're starting at the top of the list, you have to define the top.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so I think, so I'm gonna go down, starting with number one. I think that we should, when we know that occupancy, sometimes you don't know, like somebody may tell you, okay, I got 30 days. They may not tell you until that 30 days. But if we know something's available 45 days, let's just say, you know. Usually, don't you have to give 2 months notice when you're moving out, or is it just the 30 days?
30. Usually 30 days at the end of the lease. Now, you know, if you want to end your lease early, that's where you start getting into.
Right, but I'm just thinking like, usually what happens, I think, in a regular apartment situation is somebody's lease is getting ready to come up. They are approached, whoever the current occupant is approached and said, are you gonna extend your lease? And then if they say no, then that's when, and usually they probably do that 45 days in advance,
Yeah.
something like that.
The requirement in the standard New Mexico lease,
Mhm.
that's done through Inmar, is, that the lease can be ended at the lease term. You know, there needs to be 30 days to end it from either notice from the owner or landlord, or notice from the resident. If there's no notice given on either side, it converts to a month-to-month lease.
Then I say, okay, I'm gonna say minimum 30 days.
And that's our standard now, you know, and that's, you know, that's not required by UWORA. That's
Okay.
just what
Okay.
the standard lease
What the
is.
standard is,
So,
and I think that's fair,
yeah,
but we will not wanna go to month,
no, I
because we
think
have that eligibility requirement, so.
you might want, yeah, we might want to have just a proactive, 15 days before that. So 45 days before the end of the lease,
Mhm.
reach out to the
Right.
tenant and say, hey, the end of your lease is coming up.
Okay,
Cause then we have to reach out to the other person.
and then,
Do
and
you
then,
want to do a new lease or what's the
Right.
situation?
Yeah.
so I like that, so at 45 days, whoever the property manager and or representative reaches out to current occupants to determine if they're going to extend their lease, and then we post. And then they have the 15 days to decide.
Right.
You know, and then we post 30 days after, then we
Right.
post 30 days.
Well, then we go to the waiting list and then, yeah. then
Right,
we
that's
post
true,
it,
then
Yeah.
we post, okay,
Well, and there's gonna be a bit of a gap there, right? Cause tenant moves out, the last day of their lease,
right.
you're
things
gonna
need
have
be
to
cleaned up.
turn it over, and so I bet 45 turns into 60 by the time you actually have a new tenant in there.
Mhm,
Yeah.
could
From the
be.
day you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so then the publicized list, sign up and have leasing information available to the public. That would be like maybe when we have, like you said, you go to the waiting list, but then, if, say, we have units and we don't have a waiting list, then that's where you would have on that website or webpage or whatever, or public announcement that these units are available,
Right.
something like that, okay? Begin receiving applications, reach out to qualified applicants, yes, in order the email time spam / on the wait list or whatever. And then once vacancies are filled, create or maintain the waiting list and let remaining applicants know where they are on the list.
Yes,
Okay,
where,
so.
Yeah,
add
and
it where.
we can change that. Yeah.
Okay, is anybody opposed to the first come, first serve? Because Maya, No,
I
no?
guess the better.
okay. All right, I'm good with what you have here. I think this is high level again. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
they'll have it, whoever gets the job, they'll have a job description specifically on how, okay. All right, so now,
Do you guys want
So
to look
most-
real quick at the moderate option or?
I
You've
mean,
seen it? We talked about it. It's not,
I was never
again,
crazy
just
about it.
laying it out. Yeah,
Okay.
I just,
I thought that's what everybody was doing,
Yeah.
but then we found out it wasn't, so.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, just thinking about it from property management perspective, if I had this job for the village, I would be a lot happier with the
mhm,
first come, first serve.
yeah, there's too many advantages to doing it this
Yeah.
way. It's cleaner and it helps push the process forward.
Yeah.
Lots of reasons.
okay, so with that said, does anybody make a motion to approve the, updated, the things we just talked about, updated draft?
And on this one, is this gonna be a recommendation to council on this process or just general
I
recommendation?
think it's just a general recommendation that first come, first serve. I mean, the the sheet you have, I think should go ahead and this is what the committee has voted to approve on.
Mhm.
But ultimately, I see a lot of those questions you have in there
Right.
falling to whoever the property manager is on how
Right.
to, I mean,
Actually implemented.
well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about a website several times, which is a great idea, but that website doesn't exist
Right.
today, so, that's gonna be fairly high up
Right.
on their first order of
Yes.
things to do is
Do
build
you
out.
want it as a sub thing of the village, main village website, or do you want it to be like, visit Angel Fire?
I
This could
think,
Be something totally separate.
I don't know, that's
I think
honestly.
these are questions, yeah.
It's really more of a question, I think, at this point for Manager Weir, because you may or may not know, we have had some significant challenges with our IT services. Over the last year, we've changed a couple of times, and so figuring out who to build that website, I don't know that we could even answer that question just yet.
All right, so anyway, motion for this.
Hey, we're just gonna put it onto here, right?
Well, yeah, this is gonna be another attachment, just like the documents that you have will be attached, so in that applicants, we'll have the applications, managed on first come, first served basis, per the attached document, is what I'll say on the very bottom.
So I recommend to submit this as a recommendation to council.
Anybody second?
First come, first served.
Second motion.
Okay. All in favor?
I,
Okay, all right. So now on to okay, one thing we had on our agenda was discuss disqualifications of rental applicants. I'm just, my head is I'm not there yet.
we can
So-
table that.
Let's table that one and then let's move on to this document here, recommendations to village, council. So for the first 6 units,
So, sorry to interrupt you.
no, go ahead.
There is a council meeting tomorrow night, that's already on here. There's
This is
an
already on here?
Yeah, there's an RFP on tomorrow evening's council meeting to recommend procuring the 6 units from a vendor.
Right,
And an RFP going to a contractor to deliver and install the foundations.
okay, that's not what this paragraph says though.
Okay, but,
This says for the first 6 units, contract property management services with the local company. That's what I'm saying,
got it,
is the recommendation. And then services include, and then using the standard, issue an RFP for those services using the standard RFP process, using the attached scope of work and responsibilities. That's what we recommend for the first 6 units. That's what we talked about.
okay,
Is trying to get somebody like a Brenda Johnson or Owen.
Yep.
To at least do those first 6.
yep,
Okay, so that's that. Are we still, everybody still agree with that?
Mhm.
Do we need to add long-term? Okay, once the remaining units are delivered, create employee positions. That's what that's talking about, also including the scope of work. Using the scope of work attached. And then have an on-site property manager ensure, does everybody still agree with that as the recommendation?
I think you have to reevaluate if you want to create a new position or keep the property manager
Okay.
based on how much work it is for the 6.
Okay. So how do we wanna say that on here? I mean. We can reevaluate.
I think you have to. Well, I think you have to do it prior to the remaining units being delivered and occupied.
it's all gonna depend on, the RFP may come back and we may get lucky and Brenda Johnson, one of the others says, I want this. We may have no bidders, so you really can't predict.
So maybe we say, so how do we wanna, are we ready for so I'm just thinking, do we wanna put in there something about? Based on the experience with the first 6 units.
Yes.
We recommend that council considers. Number 1, number 2, or number 3, or we could put an or there. 1 and 2, or number 3. Well, I think one or 2 would be. Continue to contract. Contract. the PM services. So create one or more village positions. Or continue to, do that and then evaluate it. And then number three, I think number two becomes number three because I still feel like we want an on-site person to monitor activity.
Right, and it's like, but I wish we could know more what that person is, cause could that be a very part-time job, like with the right software, that could just
Yeah.
be, with the right software, that could be one of our guys that we have now that works in the maintenance department, living there, that does it as a overtime gig or
That's-
something.
Or gets free house.
With the right
There's a couple
software, right?
things to think about, because number one, if we were going to have, village employees, and to think about as we scale up, right?
Yeah.
To have somebody on site at this first one, but that doesn't mean they necessarily have to continue on that site. Do we want to recommend having a village employee on site who will have responsibility for what? What do we want to define?
And I think that's where we keep getting tripped up, is we keep trying to define this role and we don't know who or what's gonna fill it.
Yeah,
So I think the recommendation is. I think the recommendation is really, this is to spur the village into action to go do something.
Right.
But we don't know what the outcome is gonna be, property manager or employee, or new employee or existing employee that we've gotta give some software tools, so I don't think I would get too tied down in that. The only thing that I would recommend adding to this document below that is gonna be the RFP for those professional services. The on-call professional services that we'll need. That we go ahead and engage in that RFP work.
All right, so here's what I've written. I said. For the first 6 units, contract property management services with a local company. Services include what says there. Issue an RFP for the property managed services using the village's standard RFP process and the scope of work and the attached scope of work and responsibilities. Okay,
Okay, so
The-
can I think maybe we need to add something to that, though. They can't get a property management. Like, are we gonna have to go back to getting somebody that will put, that gets to live there for free and gets a salary, but also has a.
well. I mean, I think, does that really need to be decided by the committee, or is that like? I think Brett can go try to do this, and if it doesn't work out, then he's gotta have a plan B.
Yeah, or should be, there needs to be an or statement in here, find a property manager or
Or,
create one in-house. That's basically what we're
That's
talking
basically
about.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
right, so that would be under number one, right?
Right.
Create
And that's
one
for
more
the
village
remaining
member,
units.
right, or
so, okay,
contract.
contracted, okay, create a position.
External warranty manager.
Because hypothetical, if all the RFPs come in and it's gonna be $300,000 a year to have these things managed professionally, well, go hire someone. You know what I mean? But we're not gonna know that. Manager Weir is gonna know that well before we will, at the committee level.
Okay. All right, then I said, once the remaining units, or prior to the remaining units being delivered, maybe we say that. Then we. I'm just trying to figure out how to word this, we may have to work this document up and not be ready, because. Cause we're kind of changing up what we're saying here, cause we're like, we wanna have. The ad here is that we wanna have an on-site property manager, but I agree with Lori in that. After we've done the first 6 units and we see how it goes, we're gonna have a better idea of maybe a different recommendation, and so probably at that point it needs to come back to our committee.
Yeah, but
So maybe we don't,
Freaks out about something, hey, I
Right.
know we were taking this on,
right.
Right.
Right. So maybe we don't do anything other than A, do we really need to include B at this point?
Just say it's at 5
Or
months.
or maybe we say,
Well,
Five-
this is the explicit stated request of what you want, in this case,
Right.
Manager Weir to do. With all the documentation you guys have done
Right.
for the scope of work, so
Right.
I think as short as you need to state that, find property management for these units, and it doesn't matter the first 6, the 30, find it now, because we have to have it now. So as short of a declarative statement as you think you can word that into either find a property manager via RFP or create one in-house with an existing or new village employee.
And then I still think we should recommend even, I don't know how y'all feel about the 6, but I still think we need to consider having an on-site person. You
That
know,
would be part of it.
Or the 6, or,
I mean, what do you think? I mean,
might as well put them in one of those.
cause then they'll be there.
I don't know, it doesn't matter which one they go in, but yeah, put them in there, get them in there now.
I mean, so well, that's assuming, so this is gonna be something to, we need to think about is, you know, if somebody who's already here and has a family applies for this job, if it becomes a job, this is all the unknowns.
Right.
Then they're not gonna be interested in moving to that. So does it have to be a condition of the job? or
So
is
you
it-
know what? I think I'm just gonna say, the council recommends an on-site property manager an on-site property manager
Manager
to
who
monitor
lives
activity to
on-site.
ensure
Well,
time done.
I can say this because I've talked to Brett about it. If we have to find a person, he's willing to say, okay, some of this housing, you're gonna live here is
Yes.
included, like, that's gonna be part of the overall compensation package.
Mhm.
If that's the route it goes. But I don't think there's we don't need to spill a lot of ink of detailing that path out, not knowing. Because it may be a property manager, or to Meg's point, it may be somebody who already works for the Village of Angel Fire and has a house already sorted out. They don't wanna move on site. But we won't know that.
I mean, they're gonna need to
Yes.
spend a lot of time on site.
For sure.
They're, you know, they may not wanna live there.
Okay, and then, so I'm gonna leave A.
We've got a comment.
Okay, sorry.
I would just have to question, you know, is this position, if somebody's living on site, are they considered to be on call?
Yes, that's what I said.
That would be, again, a consideration of with the job description that comes back.
Being the main point of contact between.
So understand what this entails is every hour they're on call, they receive 25% of their normal pay rate.
Which,
And there's certain conditions to when you're on call that you have to meet. You
which,
can't drink,
Right.
you have to be able to come, whoever takes this position, I mean, even if it's free rent, it sounds great and dandy. But it's 24-hour a day job.
Yeah.
and at that 24-hour a day on-call rate may price them out of these units. They may make too much money to live on
Right.
site. If they're really getting 365 days a year of call.
Right.
So
So-
I think our recommendation is that the village evaluate how they want to best handle this. Because they're gonna have their own opinions, and like all of the 130 beds of employee housing that the resort has, we don't have anybody on site, and it's fine. So I think for the first 6, the village might think that it's not worth having to pay the on-call rate and jump through all those hoops just for 6 units, but then as more come in, they may feel it becomes.
Responsible, but
So I think it just depends on what their comfort level is with it.
Okay,
Okay.
One thing the village does not have 7-day-a-week maintenance department
okay.
as well. And that leads into the question of snow removal, that's for the maintenance department. That could basically turn maintenance into an essential department, which means when it snows, they come to work. There's a lot, and please understand that the employees with the village, it's much different than in a private business. And with the on-call time and so forth and so on, and also understanding that, as with many full-time jobs, people earn PTO. You know,
Well-
they literally have to have a plan, it's more than one, even with 6 units, it's more than one person. Can handle doing maintenance, everything else, cause then that person's 24 hours to 7 days.
Right.
Well, do we have, so like right now? Do we have does the village have an on-call service? That is maybe just a phone number that they call that rings to somebody?
We have lots of on-call contracts with many different entities. We have on-call engineering services, we have on-call IT services. These are separate contracts that are written out. Here's a scope of work to come put in a new server for us. Here's the on-call contract to maintain that server. for
But
us.
like, for example, if somebody, like something, like one of the surge and they hear a explosion, you know, like the pump or something. I mean, I'm just talking about, like, if is there just a 1-8, a number that we just call to the village to say something is very wrong that the village needs to come take care of right now, because that's basically what kind of this is. And it could be rolled into that, but if we don't have it, I mean,
Most of the things you're talking about are gonna roll to either police or fire or,
okay,
but no, there is not a non-emergent number for the Village of Angel Fire to call and report something. Right?
okay, all right, well,
That doesn't exist.
I think the water department has something to do.
well,
The water department has, but these are critical infrastructure, right? That's a different thing versus. And that's, I think the director's point is, if you cross into that boundary of what his on-call 24-hour service means, it comes with a very well-defined cost
Yes.
that
Right.
mhm,
may or may not fit into this scope of work.
right, okay. All right, well,
I think too, maybe there's a difference between something that is truly emergent, right? That is really like, I mean, a water main breaks and it's
Yeah.
flowing out, or there is definitely a gas leak and, well, I've got a drip on my kitchen
Mm,
sink and it's, or, well, my dishwasher's not flowing over, but, or, you know, so I think those are things we can think about and
mhm,
you know, great, we'll be glad to come do a work order and come and service the issue between 8 and 5.
Yeah.
The biggest emergency, I guess, I see coming up with these is if you have a furnace outage in the middle of winter, well, that is now an emergency.
Right,
But there is currently not a place to call with the village to do that.
right,
Now, one of the processes that might have to get established either with the employer or project manager is, okay, if you really do have that emergency, and it's, after hours, you need to call this on-call service of the
Yes.
HVAC guy and say, hey, my
Yeah.
furnace is out, I have no heat, it's 10 degrees outside, what do I do?
yeah.
or called sustainability partners, yeah, okay. All right, well, so there's a lot of changes to this document, so I don't think that this is ready to go anywhere. But I mean, I can, other than we know we need to get started on this village council RFP.
Yeah, the on-call services RFP, if you wanna put that on a
Okay.
separate document and vote, you say, hey, you need to get about the business council of putting RFPs out for whatever on-call professional services will not be done by sustainability partners
Right.
or in-house with the Village of Angel Fire, those contracts need to get worked on.
All right, here's what I do think I can do. I think I can leave A and say, create a village position or contract property managed services with a local company.
Mhm.
And then add it, based on the scope, attached scope of work and responsibilities, which we've already approved. Then I could do B and just say evaluate an on-site property manager position. As, whether an on-site property manager position makes sense.
Yeah, so B2, evaluate whether an on-site property manager is needed.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, and then C is gonna be, applications are to be managed per the first come, first served pays attached. And then D is create an RFP for on-call services such as not HVAC.
HVAC, plumbing, electrical would be the main three. We're not gonna need septic, cause we're gonna be sewer and all
Right.
of those systems we'll be maintaining all of the sewer lines out there, so we won't need Bob's Yard or anyone like that.
You're gonna learn quite to go to RFP if the expenditure is gonna be over $60,000 within a year. There is the option to go to invitation to bid as well, which compels you to go with the lowest bidder. But there is also opportunity where if none of them are going to go over the $60,000 mark, that you could get rates for multiple vendors and have say 3 electricians that you can call on, 3 HVAC people.
And why would these things not be why would these things not be our sustainability partners' responsibility?
So they are financially. But they're not gonna be the one calling
Okay,
the
okay.
furnace guy to come fix it. So
And
they're,
Nast isn't coming up here to, or he's not
Correct.
making that call.
so they're collecting monies to account for these costs, but somehow the work still has to be done. And having just replaced a furnace and a boiler at the church, you might have to find 3 counties to get 3 HVAC guys to come bid on this.
Okay.
Unless Kurt's got a Rolodex up back there. I don't know.
Okay, so we've run over time, never before, but we've done it today.
Yes.
Okay, so do we, based on what I just said, are we comfortable with me making those changes? And submitting that as our recommendation to council and or Weir?
Yeah.
Okay, so we make a motion?